Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome my students in Prep 3 and our sons abroad. أبنائنا في الصف الثالث الإعدادي وأبنائنا في الخارج ومدارس اللغات. مرحبا بكم. Welcome to my channel, the English for You, the English Gate. Today, inshallah, we will have chapter 6 from A Tale of Two Cities. First term, the title of the chapter is The Marquis Evermond. Here it starts with a quotation from the chapter, "Be brave, Gasper. It's better for the poor child to die without pain than to live with the pain of hunger and such injuries." Summary of the chapter. The Marquis Saint Evermond. This is the first time we see this character. That's the main character in the story, and he is the uncle of Charles Evermond. There was a fancy reception at the king's court in France. The expensive clothes and jewelry of the guests and the delicious feast spread on the table contrasted sharply with the rags and the empty stomachs of the people who lived near the palace. هنا الكاتب بيقارن ما بين المأدبة الفاخرة وعليها أنواع الطعام والأفواه الجائعة في الناحية الأخرى من المدينة. The Marquis Saint Evermond was attending the king's reception, حفلة الاستقبال التي أقامها الملك. When the reception was over, the Marquis climbed into his coach to leave Paris as quickly as possible. He had been ignored by the king. تجاهله الملك at the reception. He was very angry, so he enjoyed the reckless speed of the coach. كان مستمتعا بالتهور، السرعة المتهورة للحافلة التي كان يركبها أو العربة التي كان يستقلها. For it made the common poor people scatter before him. كانوا يتناثرون أو يعني بيتفرقوا من سرعة العربية. Suddenly the Marquis' carriage crashed a small boy. دهست طفل صغير. The Marquis would have ordered the driver to proceed. كان يأمر السائق أن يستمر في القيادة. But a lot of poor people gathered around the carriage and grabbed the horses. Let's see what was the reaction of the Marquis after he had killed a boy under the wheels of his carriage. The Marquis was more concerned about the horses, his horses, than the poor child. كان اهتمامه أكثر بالأحصنة أكثر من الولد الذي قتل. I can't understand why you people can't take care of yourselves and your children. That's what he said. The Marquis leaned out of the window and saw a tall man picking up the child from under the horses and began screaming, "Killed!" The poor man then stood up and rushed toward the carriage. The Marquis reached for his sword, but another man in rag clothes stopped him and apologized to the Marquis, saying, "Pardon, Monsieur the Marquis, but it's his child." معذرة سيد الماركي، إنه طفله الذي قتل. The Marquis looked out at the crowd and threw a gold coin, thinking that he was able to pay for anything he broke. كل اللي عمله إن هو أخرج قطعة من الذهب وألقاها على الأرض كتعويض للطفل المقتول. He thought that the gold coin would comfort the grieving father and make his pain go away. قد تعود حزن الأب وتجعل حزنه يذهب. At that moment, Devash, the wine shop owner, rushed over to the father and comforted him, saying, "Be brave, Gaspard." Gaspard, that's the father of the killed boy, والد الطفل المقتول. It's better for the poor child to die without pain than to live with the pain of hunger and such injuries. And I want you to take care of that quotation. Again, I'll say it again. Be brave, Gasper. It's better for the poor child to die without pain than to live with the pain of hunger and such injuries. The Marquis liked Devar's wisdom, عجبته هذه الحكمة, and tossed him another gold coin, وألقى له قطعة أخرى من الذهب. Once he sat back in his seat with a satisfied smile, the coin was thrown back into the carriage. ألقى قطعة الذهب على العربة مرة أخرى. He got angry and shouted, "Who threw that?" But Devar's wasn't there, and the poor father was still weeping on the pavement. كان لازال يبكي طفله على الرصيف, and beside him stood Madame Defarge, woman knitting. Getting no reply, the Marquis ordered his carriage to go on. A stranger underneath the carriage. غريب في أسفل العربة. Hours later, the carriage reached a poor village and stopped at a stable to change horses. Poor peasants gathered around the coach, including a road fixer, الذي يصلح الطريق, who told the Marquis that he had seen a man swinging by the chain underneath the carriage. شاهد رجل يتعلق بسلاسل العربة في الخلف. The Marquis sent for Gabelle, أحد حراسه, who was in charge of the stable, and ordered, كان حارسا على الاسطبل, and ordered him to find this stranger if he tried to spend the night in the village. طبعا اللي كان بيتعلق بهذه السلاسل هو جاسبر والد الطفل المقتول، وتعلق بالعربة من الخلف لكي to take revenge for his child، لكي ينتقم لطفله. He is ready for his tomb from the jacks. He's ready for his tomb from the jacks. هذه أيضا one of the famous quotation. That night, the Marquis was expecting a visitor from London. He was his nephew who lived in London under the name of Charles Darnley. Charles was quite different from his uncle and his late father. Charlie's mother had begged him on her deathbed to be merciful to the people and to make up for the wrongs both his father and his uncle had done، وأن يحاول أن يصححوا الأخطاء التي فعلها أبوه وعمه. Charlie was trying to convince his uncle to change the way he treated the peasants and the poor people. كان يحاول أن يقنعه أن يغير من العملة that the peasants and the poor, for the peasants and the poor people. What did he say? Sir, ours is an honorable family, but we have mistreated the people, and now we are paying for it. My father punished everyone who interfered with his pleasures, and you, my father's twin brother and heir to his property والوريث للممتلكات, have also done wrong. But the Marquis got angry and he swore to fight to stop these revolutionary peasants from changing the ruling system. أقسم أنه سوف يقام هؤلاء الفلاحين الثوريين الذين يحاولون تغيير النظام in France, even if it meant fighting and imprisoning his own nephew، حتى لو تطلب الأمر أن يسجن ابن أخيه. Charles told his uncle that he had decided to give up his property، أن يتخلى عن ممتلكاته in France, and that he would live in England where he wouldn't feel ashamed of his family's name. سوف يعيش في إنجلترا حيث لا يشعر بالخزي أو العار من اسم عائلته. With a sly smile، بضحكة ساخرة، The Marquis said, other French men have fled to England. Do you know a doctor and his daughter? طبعا هنا إشارة إلى دكتور مانيت وبنته لوسي. يعني هنا عايز أقول له إن أنا متابع أخبارك ومتابع كل شيء بيحصل. When the sun rose the following morning, it found the Marquis's face frozen with fear and a knife in his heart وسكين مغروسة في قلبه. Around the handle of the knife وحول يد المقبض بتاع السكين was a note. He is ready for his tomb from the Jacks. طبعا جاكس ده كان الاسم الذي يطلق الاسم الحركي أو الخفي الذي كان يطلق على الثوريين قبل بداية الثورة. And questions and answers. It's extraordinary to me that you people cannot take care of yourselves and your children. It's extraordinary to me that you people cannot take care of yourselves and your children. Comment. The Marquis of Evermont said this to the poor people of Saint Antoine when they gathered around his carriage. His carriage had just crushed a little boy, دهست طفل صغير, under its wheels, and he only was concerned about his horses. We have mistreated the people and now we are paying for it. لقد أسأنا معاملة الناس والآن ندفع ثمن ذلك. طبعا ثمن ذلك كان مزيد من الكراهية للنبلاء. Charles Darnley said this to his uncle, the Marquis of Evermont. Darnley didn't like the way his father and his uncle treated the poor peasants. He told his uncle that they, the Evermont family, had done many wrong deeds and they would suffer because people hated them. The Marquis didn't listen to his advice and threatened to send him to prison. وهدد بإرساله إلى السجن. It's better for the poor child to die without pain than to live with the pain of hunger and such injuries. This is one of the most important quotation in that chapters, and it was said by Devarge to Gaspard, the father of the killed child under the wheels of the Marquis Evermont. Devarge said this to the child's father when the child was killed under the wheels of the Marquis's carriage. Devarge was trying to comfort the father, saying that it was better for the boy to die rather than live in hunger, poverty, and sickness. Why had Charles Darnley returned to France? لماذا عاد تشارلز دارني إلى فرنسا? He wanted to fulfill his mother's wish to help the poor people and to make up for the wrongs and يصحح الأخطاء his father and uncle had done to them. He's ready for his tomb. From the Jacks. Comment. These words were written in the note that was left on the Marquis's body. بجانب جثة الماركي. Gaspard, the child's father, had taken revenge, انتقم, for his poor child the same night في نفس الليلة he was killed. And I, for one, will fight to keep these revolutionary peasants from changing the ruling system in France, even if it means fighting and imprisoning you as well. Comment. Of course, these words were said by Evermont to his nephew Charles Darnley. The Marquis said this to Charles Darnley. He was determined to fight the peasants and prevent them from changing the ruling system in France. He said that he was ready to imprison Charles himself if he had to. Question number 7. Other Frenchmen have fled to England. يعني في فرنسي آخر هرب إلى إنجلترا. Do you know a doctor and his daughter? يعني إذا هنا عايز يقول له أنا متابع ومتابع العلاقة اللي بينك وبين الدكتور وبنته. Who said this to whom? The marquis said this to his nephew Charles Darnley. Who did the speaker mean by other French men? He meant Dr. Manette and his daughter Lucy. What did the speaker mean by these words? He meant that he knew everything about Charlie's life in England and who the people whom he met and lived with in England were. There I will not feel ashamed of my family name, for I do not use it. هناك لن أشعر بالخزي من اسم عائلتي لأنني لن أستخدم هذا الاسم. Of course, these words were said by Charles Darnley. Charles Darnley said this to his uncle, the Marquis of Evermont. Darnley declared that أعلن أنه that he would leave his property سيتخلى عن ممتلكاته in France and live in England under a false name because he felt ashamed of his family's name. These are the most important questions about that chapter. Now, my dear students, let's see a short scene about that scene of running the boy under the wheels of the carriage of Evermore. Let's see.
What is happening here? Who is making that abominable noise?
Sorry, monsieur, we have struck a child, I believe.
The child, Monsieur the Marquis, is dead. The coach struck him. This man is the father.
Really, it is extraordinary to me that you people cannot take care of yourselves. Or your children. Always in the way. How do I know what injury you may have done to my horses? Here, give him that.
Be brave, Gaspard. It is better for the poor little one to die so than to live in times such as these. He died quickly, without pain. Could he have lived an hour as happily?
Oh, you are a philosopher, monsieur. How do they call you?
Defarge,
Of what trade?
a vendor of wine. That is my shop.
Well, philosopher and vendor of wine. Pick up that and spend it as you will. Move on.
Walk on.
Now, this is the end of our chapter today, my dear student. Let's till we meet again. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you and goodbye. Don't forget to put like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.